I'm in our giant vegetable garden and we're coming up on the tail end of our harvest, and I want to show you a couple of things that you've not seen on the program yet. Here in front of me is our cabbage, and the particular variety is Hercules. Now, it's really very late, but we planted it on time, but I think it's taking a little bit longer for it to develop, and we have some heads that are starting to size up. This one here, the way it's starting to curl, it really won't form. It's going to bolt on us before anything. This one's looking nice, but we're going to harvest this one because it's starting to sunburn, and it really is getting too hot for cabbage. Now, if you'll notice, when we take the top off here, there's some side shoots that can also go ahead and form some of the smaller heads. So we'll probably go ahead and leave them. However, the heat may take a toll on it. Now, the next thing we would do is just go ahead and peel this off, these outer leaves. And again, this is Hercules, and they tell us that it can form heads up to about 8 to 10 inches. Ours is probably getting, maybe 6 to 8 inches. And the record of this particular cultivar is 124 pounds, and we're looking about 2 pounds and 4 ounces, so you can tell there is a big difference. Now, the plant itself is pretty amazing in size, but the head is very small. And we received this variety from Thompson & Morgan, and the nice thing about it, even though it's splitting, it's still going to be edible, or not splitting, but sunburning, it's still edible. The other thing about the variety is it resists splitting. Now, here beside me I have some of the Lancastrium, or football onions as they're known, and we're just starting to harvest those. We'll let them dry a little bit. They have a yellowish white scale on them. They're really a white fleshed onion though, but they can get up to 7 pounds, and ours is about, a pound and 10 ounces there. So pretty good size for an onion, and they'll still be nice and meaty and fleshy and taste great, again from Thompson & Morgan. And now that we're starting to get some bare spots in our giant garden, it's time for us to think about putting in a fall garden. And I want to give you some tips on planting a fall garden, because if you think about it, there are 4 things you need to keep in mind this time of year. Heat is just very terrible on starting vegetable this time of year. Pest populations are very high. You need to worry about moisture, and timing is very, very crucial depending on what you're going to plant. Now, when you decide where you're going to plant, be sure and work the soil up and try to stir up the soil and try to get those insects out and get it as clean as you can, get the weeds out, and soak the seeds overnight while you're getting ready to plant. You can do it just in a cup of water or put some in a moist paper towel. We have some pumpkin seeds inside here, some of our baby bear that are soaking real nicely. And the other thing is, once the bed is prepared and ready to go, it's going to be a little bit different from your normal planting. You want to make a deeper trench when you're planting, and you'll actually put the seeds in a little bit deeper than normal. And we've got some peas that we're going to put in, and we'll drop those in a little bit deeper. Now, the thing is, we don't want to cover them too deep or they won't germinate that well. So we're going to put a little bit of compost over the top, the same amount that would be recommended. And the compost keeps it from crusting, holds moisture a little bit better. And then when we water with our drip irrigation that will run in here, we have a little trench and it will hold water nicely. And as they begin to grow, it'll settle, and we can also then mulch it as it begins to grow with like straw, other types of mulch to keep that soil temperature a lot cooler and also hold the moisture in a little bit better. So compost works great for this time of year in planting a fall garden. Now, the other thing is, you can imagine the heat is so intense, sometimes the plants that are cool season are going to sunburn. So you can devise various types of products here. We're just going to stick some boards over this. Depending on the sun pattern, it'll give us some shade, especially over the hottest part of the day. Or you might even want to devise the black mesh netting that we've used before, where you put some boards up, just hang it over a little bit taller, keeps things from sunburning. We've used this in the past on the show, like to plant carrots, really make the soil temperature a lot cooler. And also you can use it to protect sunburn on tomatoes this time of year, that maybe the foliage is dropping off and you need to get a little bit of shading so you don't sunburn. So this comes in very handy. Now, the other thing is, with the high insect populations, especially with cucumber beetles, squash bugs, those types of things on all the cucurbit crops, we're having a bad problem with them. What we do on our pumpkins, and we've got another row over here, we planted the seed, have them mulched under plastic. We're going to keep them nice and wet, But before the seed ever comes up, we put a floating row cover over, so we're trying to keep the insects from getting to those plants. We'll keep the row cover on until the plants start to bloom, and then they need pollination from bees. We'll remove the floating row cover. Now you got to be careful this time of year. If any eggs or insects are in the soil and you didn't get it cleaned up, you can also trap those insects in there and do more harm than good. So watch, get it cleaned up, and this way you can keep the bugs off, and it'll be several weeks before they'll ever start to bloom, and you'll get a head start on production that way. Otherwise you'll lose them to wilt and all kinds of problems that the bugs can cause. Now once you get them planted, don't forget to water. It's very important to keep things watered. Again, the compost helps out nicely. And let me tell you some things that you can plant in the fall garden. There are some warm season crops that you can still plant through the end of August, things like beans, cucumbers, summer squash, pumpkins. And then starting the middle of August to about the middle of September, depending on which part of the state you're in, you can plant beets, broccoli, cabbage, carrots, peas, cauliflowers, lettuce, mustard, radish, spinach, turnips, just about anything you can imagine that's a cool season crop. Again, the fall's coming up. It's just around the corner. You need plenty of time to get them to harvest before the frost-free dates. Now, if you need more information about fall gardening, don't forget to go by your county extension office and ask for fact sheet 6009 on fall gardening, and that'll give you lots of nice tips to get you started off so you'll have a very productive fall garden this year.